Assessment can be thought of as a four-step process. First, you provide opportunities for student learning that align to the program's student learning outcomes. Second, you gather the data related to that student learning. Third, you evaluate and interpret the data. And finally, you use those results to plan improvements. The curriculum map will make it evident where the program provides opportunities for learning in the student learning outcome. But how do you go about creating a plan for gathering the data? Today you will examine your curriculum map and determine the best place to collect evidence of student learning. You will use this information to modify your curriculum map so that it becomes an artifact map. An artifact map visually depicts the location of the chosen accessible assignments in the program's curriculum. It is an extension of the program's curriculum map and is usually very simple to create. Ideally, the artifact map will contain all the direct evidence that your program needs to make informed decisions about learning. It's best to determine your data collection points in your assessment plan. When is the best time to assess a particular outcome? There are three common templates for assessment. Programs may choose to do summative assessment only, assessing their students' achievement of the learning outcome at the end or near the end of the program. Other programs may seek to determine the amount of growth over time in the achievement of the learning outcome. These programs complete both formative and summative assessments. In addition to completing assessment at the end of the program, these programs may assess at or near the beginning of the program. A last common template provides assessment at the beginning, middle, and end of the program. Like endpoint assessment, this practice allows faculty to examine growth in a learning outcome, but it also provides an additional opportunity for improvements that can be made prior to the student's completion of the degree. What data is most important to you and your program's faculty? Which data points should you establish to give you the best opportunity to assess the entire program? You must also ask yourself, what level of assessment can my program handle? Workload may be a factor in determining your assessment processes. To begin, establish the ideal assessment process your program will use. For the purposes of this example, a formative summative assessment process will be examined. Using the curriculum map as your guide, establish the right assessment points for the program. Usually you will be able to determine the exact assignment that students will complete. For instance, my program's faculty might conclude that for outcome number 1, Course 2 is the best formative assessment point, and Course 6 is the best summative assessment point. From speaking to the faculty that teaches Course 2, I know that the midterm speech project is the accessible assignment that aligns to outcome number 1. And from speaking to the faculty that teaches Course number 6, I know that a final paper is the accessible assignment in that class. Complete this process for each of your program's student learning outcomes. Assessing in this way will provide your program with ample direct evidence of student learning. Now it's time to determine how to assess each of the artifacts in your program. As a faculty group, you should decide the practice that makes the most sense to you. Assessing student work using a well-defined outcomes rubric is usually considered the best practice. Some programs choose to have the faculty that teaches the course assess the student's performance when the assignment is submitted. Other programs have a faculty group evaluate the student's work at a later time. This process is usually considered more valid, especially if the process includes multiple evaluations or a group consensus, but it is not always feasible due to time constraints. The program's faculty should determine which process makes the most sense to them in regards to validity, time, and program culture. When using rubrics, it is strongly advised that the same rubric be used for the program evaluation. Though assignment rubrics will change from assignment to assignment and course to course, program rubrics should be written in a way that captures the broad categories of the outcome. It's important to also remember that a program evaluation score does not always have to mirror the grade. It's normal for a beginning student to make an A on an assignment, but not score very high on the program's rubric. One would not expect a freshman's work to be as well developed as a senior's. Remember, the program rubric should measure against the ideals of the degree level student. Your program may choose to use scoring guides in lieu of rubrics. Scoring guides do not provide the evaluators with a defined level of performance, but they are certainly much better than simply providing a final grade that does not reference the criteria of the outcome. If your program decides a test is a logical location for the assessment, I advise you to look a bit deeper. Instead of targeting the entire test, look instead to the questions on the test that directly align to the outcome in question. To complete this assignment, create an artifact map with your faculty's assistance. First, determine the process for assessment that your program feels is best. Will you assess only the summative work, both summative and formative, or will you assess more often than that? Will rubric or scoring guide evaluations be done by the teaching faculty or by a faculty group? Second, establish the classes and assignments that will be evaluated for assessment purposes. Finally, determine how each assignment will be evaluated. For instance, the final paper in Course 307 will be evaluated by faculty group using a program rubric. The results from questions 7, 10, and 21 from the midterm exam in Course 214 will be evaluated by the teaching faculty. Once your artifact map is complete, please send your documents to your institution's assessment professional for review and edits. Once any revisions are made, upload your document to the Assignment tab.